All right, let's talk Starlink. It's one of the most ambitious tech projects out there right now, and we're going to break it all down.
So, in this explainer, we're going to cover what Starlink is, exactly how it works, what you'll pay for it, and then we'll get into the much bigger, far-reaching consequences of this whole thing.
Okay, so first things first, Starlink. What exactly are we talking about when we say internet from space?
At its heart, Starlink is this huge network of satellites whizzing around in what's called low Earth orbit, or LEO. And the goal? Well, it's pretty simple on the surface, but it's totally revolutionary. The idea is to beam high-speed, low-latency internet down to basically anywhere on the globe. And the key part is that it's completely independent of the stuff we usually rely on, like fiber optic cables in the ground.
Now you might be thinking, wait, haven't we had satellite internet for a long time? And you're right, we have. But what Starlink is doing is a whole different ballgame compared to the traditional geostationary satellites that have been floating up there for decades. It's a completely different approach.
And here's where you can really see that difference. Look at the orbit height. Traditional satellites, they're way out there at around 35,000 kilometers. Starlink satellites, on the other hand, are practically skimming the atmosphere at just 550 kilometers up. That proximity makes a massive difference. It crushes the signal lag, the latency, down from a painful 600 milliseconds to a snappy 20 to 40. And what that means for you is a huge jump in speed. We're talking the difference between just barely loading a web page and smoothly streaming in HD, or even playing competitive online games.
All right, so that's the theory. But how does this tech actually perform in the real world? Let's talk about what it means to be fast and everywhere.
Okay, let's look at the numbers. If you're using this on the move, you're looking at download speeds consistently in the 100 to 150 megabits per second range. For a standard setup at home, that can jump all the way up to 500. And that latency we talked about, it holds steady between 20 and 30 milliseconds. That means things that used to be a nightmare on satellite internet, like video calls or online gaming, are now totally seamless. The only catch? Your little antenna needs a nice, clear, unobstructed view of the sky.
So how is this even possible? Well, it comes down to sheer scale. We're talking over 7,800 active satellites in orbit by mid-2025. And that's just the beginning. The long-term plan is to have a mind-boggling 42,000 of them up there. It's this incredibly dense network that guarantees you'll always have a satellite in view, giving you that continuous, stable connection.
Okay, the tech is cool, but what does it actually look like for you, the consumer? Let's dive into the offer, what's available, and of course, how much it costs.
The hardware itself has gotten pretty slick, especially for people who aren't just sitting at home. Check out the Starlink Mini. This thing is a total game changer for anyone who camps or works on the road. They basically packed the Wi-Fi router right into the antenna, so it's this super compact all-in-one kit. Really clever.
So what's the entry fee? Right now, as of early 2026, you're looking at about 299 euros to get your hands on that mini hardware kit. That's the one-time cost to get the dish and everything you need to connect.
And then there's the monthly subscription. The plans have actually gotten pretty reasonable for mobile users. For about 40 euros a month, you get 100 gigs of data, which, let's be honest, is plenty for most remote work and streaming. If you're basically living off the grid, there's an unlimited plan for 89 euros. And here's a really nice feature. You can pause the service anytime, so you're not locked in, you only pay for the months you're actually using it.
Okay, the tech is incredible, the price is getting more accessible, it all sounds pretty great, right? But connecting the entire planet from space doesn't come for free, and I'm not talking about money. It's time to talk about the true price, the really complex and frankly, pretty serious ecological consequences.
This quote here really sets the stage. It's from a 2024 study, and it's important to note, it's from Viasat, one of Starlink's main competitors. But it raises a critical point. These massive satellite constellations in LEO come with some pretty heavy environmental baggage. We're talking about things like space debris and polluting our own atmosphere.
So let's look at some of the hard data from that study. Starlink satellites are actually designed to burn up in the atmosphere when they die, which is usually after about 5 years. What this table shows is a model of just how much aluminum dust gets released into the upper atmosphere when that happens. And the numbers are pretty staggering. The analysis suggests that the next generation of Starlink satellites could end up dumping over 25 times more aluminum into the atmosphere every year than all natural sources, like meteors combined. What that actually does long-term, well, scientists are still trying to figure that out.
Then there's the problem of space junk. It's simple, right? More satellites means a more crowded sky, which means a higher risk of them crashing into each other. But to be fair, this is a risk that's being actively managed. If you look at this heat map,
The red areas are the most dangerous, most crowded orbital highways. See the black dots? Those are the Starlink satellites. They've been deliberately placed in these quieter, less dense altitudes to try and keep that risk of collision as low as possible.
And finally, there's an impact that's a bit more personal. It's about our view of the night sky. On the left, you see a clear, dark sky. On the right, that's a simulation of what that same sky looks like with a mega constellation in orbit. All those little streaks of light are reflections from the satellites. This isn't just about pretty pictures, it seriously interferes with astronomical research. And beyond that, it changes something fundamental, something that human cultures have looked up at and relied on for thousands of years.
So here's the bottom line. Starlink is absolutely succeeding in its mission. It's bringing high-speed internet to corners of the world that were previously cut off. That's a huge deal. But this amazing achievement comes with a trade-off. It forces us to look up and really grapple with the complex, far-reaching consequences that this revolution is having on the environment right above our heads.